All right, well, good afternoon, representatives and educators. I want to be sure that everyone can see my screen. And welcome to the virtual Energy Construction Utilities Advisory Board. Thank you all for joining us. As you are entering the Zoom meeting, please be sure to mute yourself upon entry. This will help us keep all background noises to a minimum. Once the panels begin, go ahead and turn your camera off when the panels begin. This will help us highlight the speakers and representatives during their presentations. For check-in purposes, go ahead and add in the chat your first and last name. Along with, you can add your title, but definitely add in your school name and school district. And for your name frame, so how you see my name, we do want to make sure that we at least see your first and last name, or first name is fine. This will help if any other representatives or educators want to network with you. The chat is open, so you can message directly to other representatives and educators. And so for today's session, we'll go over a couple of updates with Vitalink. We have a Q&A session with Mr. John Caffrey and Mr. Terry Schmidt. Some regional director updates from Mr. John Caffrey, a guest speaker from Tomorrow's Talent, an amazing group of industry panelists, and then a final Q&A with any questions you may have for Vitalink. And then I will share the evaluation link in the chat, which we'll ask educators to complete at least before the day is over. It'll take 2 minutes tops. And then let me stop sharing. So I know we definitely want to touch over a tool that we've been using with students in our virtual communities. Here we go. Okay. And so for this website, this is called Talent ED, Talent Ed specifically, which focuses on the CTE, which is Career Technical Education courses, mainly focusing on Orange County. So for this specific advisory board, this website does help students and educators identify the specific skills that are needed. Let me zoom out just a little. There we go. The specific skills that are needed, and if they're focused on a specific title in this industry, it helps them understand what they'll be working on and some key skills that they could build over time before they begin an entry-level position. Scrolling down a little bit more, it'll go into what is referred to as their, excuse me, there we go, their industry map. So each, here we go, each color is referred to as a different position. So specifically for residential construction, it will narrow it down to the companies that are in Orange County, as well as commercial construction and so on. These are industry representatives that are, one, aware that they're on this, this website, but two, they're also willing to meet and speak in your class with your students. So feel free to contact them directly. By doing that, you select any of these sections. You can click on the little dot, and to help, I zoom all the way in because I'm blind. And then an icon will pop up. So let's know that Pratt Communications is here. They are with electrical contractors. And to learn more, it'll open directly to their website where I could call and ask if they might have a representative available and set up a time for them to come talk with your class. Another website that we've used with students in our virtual communities are Program Finder. And this definitely focuses on CTE on the educational side. And so for the ECU specifically, we would go to Energy, Environment, and Utilities. There we go. And then selecting any of these sections would let me know which colleges and high schools have this program. So for example, if I were a student in high school interested in civil and construction management technology, I'd be able to see Coastline College has this opportunity, Saddleback amongst other Southern California colleges. And a new item that they've recently added is business partners. They're still currently building this icon out. So definitely referring back to Talent Ed would be a great tool to use. Okay, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. There we go. And then another update that we do have in Vitalink, if you have not heard, Dr. Brian Dozier did accept a new position with Coastline ROP. And as of January 10th, Ms. Netta Arat, who's joined on screen, is our current interim president. So if you do have any questions in regards to updates, or if you are in the middle of contracts or specific paperwork with Vitalink, definitely reach out to Ms. Netta Arat. Her email is netta@vitalinkoc.org, which she's also shared in the chat. If you do have any additional questions about our programs or some ideas or programs that you'd like to have at your school district or college, definitely contact her. She'd be willing to set up a Zoom meeting and we can go from there. All right, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. John Caffrey for him and Mr. Terry to start their Q&A session. Thank you, John. You're muted. No worries.
You know, that one gets me quite often. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and learn about what's kind of been going on in the energy, construction, and utilities sector, and to hear from some of our college instructors, as well as an ECU update that I'll be giving you and some news about a program that I've been working on for the last about year and a half. Anyway, let's get started with the college panel. And Terry, I have some questions here. And Ari, is it just Terry that's arrived so far?
Yes, I will call the other representatives.
Okay. The first question, well, first, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Terry Schmidt. Nice to see everyone. I'm an Automation Pathways Project Manager. I work for the California Community College Chancellor's Office as a consultant through Santiago Canyon College. And basically, I'm working with their Business and Career Education Division, their Water Technology Program. And the courses that I'm primarily involved with are the Automation Fundamental Certificate courses. There are 4 of them. A DC circuits course, an AC circuits course, one on programmable logic controllers, and the other one is a water technology, electrical wiring and controls for operators. So those 4 make up this Automation Fundamental Certificate that we are working on to make these dual enrollment courses that we can use at any of the high schools in the Orange County that feed into the various community colleges here in Orange County.
Hey, Terry, why don't you give them a little bit of the background? You were a faculty for IVC, weren't you?
I retired from Keene State College in New Hampshire after 27 years. Then I moved to California and I taught for about 8 years at Irvine Valley College in electronics, automation, robotics, that sort of thing. So,
excellent. Well, let's jump into the question. If your college offers dual enrollment, what real-world experience is dual enrollment providing students that will benefit them in entry-level careers?
I think one of the things that's important is that the students get to get some hands-on real-world experiences from the college courses because they have the equipment that most high schools do not have. And so they get a chance to work with the kind of equipment that they were going to be working on in the career path that they've chosen. It also provides a direct path to meaningful employment as opposed to them having to work their way up through maybe a retail job or a food service job to get that initial experience. They also get exposed to industry professionals and networking, and oftentimes after they've done a dual enrollment courses, when they start at college and they've reached the age of 18, they can start working in industry with some full experience under their belt.
Thank you, Terry. And I can add a little bit to that. As far as the region goes, I'm not aware of a college that doesn't provide dual enrollment opportunities for their high school feeders. And one of the things that's important to know is that your students, if there's aligned programs or articulated programs that you currently have, your students can earn college credit while they're finishing up their high school diploma. And that's really something that I'd like to see happen more. And kind of like the Saddleback model, they have a wonderful dual enrollment model right now where it's no cost to the student, of course. They provide their books. It's been a wonderful program, and I believe that there's no cost to the high school at all either. So something to look into. And let's go to the next question. If your college offers, excuse me, this is a two-part question. Can students receive a certification or badge after completing the courses? And if so, how many hours or credits must be completed to receive a certification in those courses?
So one of the certificate programs that are available is this Automation Fundamental Certificate. It's 4 3-credit courses, so basically 12 credits or approximately 216 hours. Usually that's done over one or 2 years, depending upon when they start, because they could start when they're in 10th or 11th grade. And let's see, the other part of the question.
How many hours or how many credits? I think you answered that one.
Yeah, credits, but there also, Santiago Canyon also has other certificate programs in the water technology programs where you only have to take 2 to 4 courses, and then you're qualified to take state exams for a T2 or D2 certification. And once you're 18, you can begin working in that industry and possibly go back then to college to work on an associate's degree in that particular field.
That's excellent. That's important to know, especially those certifications. Those are required before you can even work in the industry. And then you have to get work experience as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more later on about how you can gain work experience, or your students can gain work experience through apprenticeship or internship. Next question. Jerry, do you see your college offering more CTE related degrees in the future?
Well, in terms of Santiago Canyon, the Automation Fundamental Certificate is the latest and greatest one that just launched this year. And they're also, we're looking at a mechatronics apprenticeship program to include automation, robotics, and mechatronics as an associate's degree. And you'll see that these 4 courses I was just talking about actually lead into a variety of different career paths, because it's a fundamental for almost all industries. And so this will be another program that would be in the offing in the near future.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a trick question. Of course, we're going to have more CTE related degrees in the future. We just don't know what the future holds. The community college system is always trying to stay ahead of technology. It's impossible, but we try. And so we're always moving into different areas, different courses, different certificates and degrees that address industry needs at this time. So in the future, absolutely, we're going to keep changing and keep evolving with the trends in industry. Next question, Terry. Does your department help students identify volunteer opportunities, internships, or shadowing opportunities?
So SEC does have in-house job developer to assist students with internships and job placement, but they also provide workshops in developing job readiness skills such as resume writing and job interviews and that sort of thing. They also have career education coaches in the high schools to help guide students towards their career goals. And that's really important to have students access these career coaches to give them an idea of where they should be heading, what courses they should be looking at to take, and what dual enrollment courses would be beneficial for them.
Yeah, thank you. And regionally, there's also a work-based learning grant that was provided through Strong Workforce Funds that is also looking to provide these type of opportunities for college students, as well as other opportunities that will bring high school students into bridge programs that feed into the colleges. So that's something to look at, and I believe that particular regional program is at Saddleback College. Israel Dominguez is directing that one. So good information if you're interested in identifying some opportunity there. Next question, Terry. In your opinion, what 3 skills should high school teachers make sure that students build before going to college?
Well, to be successful in the college, one of the main things, the important thing is time management. Organized study habits is another, because they're very fast-paced college courses. And also take deadlines very seriously, because it shows that you are committed to getting through your program and meeting all the hurdles that are there. Also, they should be proactive in your education and seek out the myriad of resources that are available at the colleges, like workshops, seminars, and so forth, because the colleges want to make sure that you have success in your studies as well. So you need to be proactive and seek out those services if you need them. And also consider that dual enrollment courses that you're taking at high school, you're developing a college record that's going to follow you. So you want to make sure that those courses, you pass those courses well and so forth, because that's going to be on your record.
Yeah, I think it boils down to personal discipline, which is really hard to teach these days, but it's not impossible. And that personal responsibility that the student needs to have is really vital for them to be successful. I can remember when I was a high school student, I did not have that one aspect and had to join the military to learn it, and did much better once I got that piece of my personality nailed down. What advice do you have for high school educators who are preparing students for engineering and manufacturing careers?
I'd recommend that students take math and science and maybe even computer-aided drafting courses in high school to better understand the physical world of manufacturing and engineering careers. And again, as I said, seek out the career education coaches in the high schools to help plan out your pathways.
Absolutely. Anybody have any questions for Terry or I? All right. Well, I'll pass it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, John and Mr. Terry. Educators, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. If not, no worries. I'm going to pass it over to, there we go, Mr. John Caffrey. Whenever you're ready, you can share your screen with your presentation. Perfect.
Okay. Back again. Well, hello, everybody. I don't know that I introduced myself completely. I'm John Caffrey. I am the Energy Construction and Utilities Regional Director. I am hosted out of Saddleback College, and my region is Orange County. I believe that Bruce was going to be here today. He's my counterpart over in LA, and he helped prepare some of these slides on supply and demand in the region that I'm going to go through right now. And then I'm going to give you an update on a program we've been working on for almost 2 years now. So the ECU middle skills occupations were listed here. And the one I really like to focus in on is at the bottom, the technicians and skilled crafts. If you look there, you'll see that the 2022 estimated employment numbers are 307,300, and they're expected 4.1% growth and annual openings of 28,400. That's pretty amazing when you think about it for Orange County. Those are high numbers, and if you look at cross over to the median annual income, we're looking at 54,500. And these are entry-level positions that we're talking about here. Now, the median income, of course, there's lower and there's higher, but that is an average, and you can see the low and the high there on the right. The other occupations above are a little more higher level. A bachelor's degrees up there, probably more likely on the management positions, and maybe an associate's degree on the design and engineering technicians. So the supply side of things with our ECU students in LAOC, I thought this was interesting. We've got 22,900, and you would think, oh, wow, that's great. Although that's courses, so that's not an unduplicated number. And if you look down below, you'll see that students that are earning a degree or certificate in both regions is only 1,550. That's not bad, but certainly it can be improved upon. The students that are graduating with those degrees and certificates, 77% of them are actually in a field of study that's related to their degree, and they're earning an average of $48,500, which is an increase of about 32% from before they exited college. So that's pretty good information, but look at OC, because I thought this was interesting. So this is just Orange County, and if you look at the degrees and certificates, we've got 600. But the interesting thing is 80% of our students are actually getting jobs in the related field. The income is better at 58,500, and it's a 41% increase. Now, what do you think about that 600 degrees and certificates? I think we can improve on that, and I actually believe that we have a program that I'm going to talk about here in just a second that we can double that number in 3 years. So think about that for a second, and I'll tell you how. So Automation, Robotics, and Mechatronics Apprenticeship Program. This is, we call it MAP Square, which means Mechatronics Apprenticeship Program Partners. And the reason it's called Partners is because we've got industry partners that are committed to having this program, making it work, and putting our students into jobs in Orange County. So Terry was talking a little bit about the Automation Fundamental Certificate that he helped develop over the last 5 years. And it is at 6 of our Orange County colleges: Santiago, Cypress, Fullerton, Orange Coast, Irvine Valley, and Saddleback. And you can see here that there's a diversity of pathways that Terry kind of mentioned. There's the water technology, mechatronics, there's robotics, HVAC, which is the building automation, and computer electronics, machining. I mean, it goes on. And these courses, now that they're certificates, align with the MAP Square program that I'm about to tell you about. Which means that the first year of the apprenticeship program is covered in these courses. And so our students that are currently in the program, if they want to transition into the apprenticeship, will be able to do that without missing a step. So in order to make this happen, we had to write a strong workforce regional grant. And we did this last year with a great team of professionals that I'll name in a few minutes. But here are the areas that we thought we needed to fund and involve to make this program successful. So the award was $917,000, and it was to build a mechatronics learn and earn degree program. So we already have the first year courses in place under the Automation Fundamentals, and now we're going to build the second year courses to complete the degree program. In addition to that, there is funding for a regional training center. And I'll get into that a little bit later on in this presentation to tell you about the vision and the venue. And then, so ARM stands for Automation, Robotics, and Mechatronics. So the ARM pathways, when I refer to those, that's what I'm talking about. And so we are looking to do dual enrollment and articulated courses from high school to each of the 6 colleges. So we hope to have at least one feeder high school for each of those 6 colleges I mentioned to feed into this program with articulated or dual enrollment courses. And then we're also coordinating with the workforce development boards because we also want to have a pathway for students who may not be in high school that are underserved, underemployed, or unemployed, and bring them into a non-credit pathway that can eventually turn into a credit pathway for them to get into the apprenticeship program. We're also working with our industry partners to train their incumbent workers, and so we're providing for them in this program as well some non-credit and not-for-credit courses, so their students don't have to pay any tuition. They just come in, or their employees come in and get upskilled in technical skills that they don't currently have but need to advance in their company. Now this sounds like, okay, how can we all do this? We don't know much about apprenticeship, or how does industry train students if they have no formal training and teaching? Well, that's where the professional development comes in, and we have a industry partner called DAG USA, who has funding that is providing all the professional development to teach the mentors that are industry partners how to conduct training for a student that's in this apprenticeship program. And so it's completely free to the faculty. In fact, we even have stipends to pay them to attend. So that should work out quite well, and that includes teachers. And then we've also collaborated with UCI through Cypress College in a program that's called Beacon. And that's a program where the students are going to do assessments on buildings, on commercial buildings, for energy efficiency, working with engineering students from UCI together as a team, and then kind of cross-pollinating some hands-on training for the engineering students that don't currently get hands-on training in our labs and our regional training center, and our students getting to visit the campus and see their clean manufacturing room and the IIC, which is the Industry Assessment Center, and learn about how energy efficiency can transform manufacturing. All of the curriculum that was designed for Map Square was industry designed and is industry approved, and it's aligned to the NIM certifications, so that our students, not only will they enter in, get a certificate in automation, get the degree in mechatronics, but they'll also earn 8 NIM certifications along the way, which is very exciting. So the partnership is DAG USA, as I mentioned, and Festo. Festo is a worldwide automation components manufacturer, and the investment of $650,000 that they are providing is what is ensuring that this program has sustainability. Then we're also working with community-based organizations and economic development organizations to ensure that we are covering all our bases in the community, giving every single person an opportunity to get into this program and improve their lives. So a little bit.
I have a question.
Yeah, Carlos.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Sure.
Professional development, industry, faculty, and teachers, that square.
Yes.
You said there was an organization that helps us and with training for
Right.
professional development. Can you put that in the chat? I didn't get the full name.
Sure, I will. All right, would you remind me to do that when I finish? And it's DAG USA is the funding source, and Festo Didactic, which is the educational wing of Festo International. And they are the technical trainers. So Festo will send out a trainer paid by DAG to the high school or the college or into any facility and do a multiple training where teachers and faculty can come together learning on the same equipment and learning about how to teach the curriculum on that particular equipment, which will be provided at the Regional Training Center.
So we have to go through Festo in order to get the
No.
professional development?
No, Festo is agnostic when it comes to equipment. So any training that you need, they will provide it. If you have new equipment that you didn't or really don't know how to utilize or didn't get training on, that will, if it's part of the Map Square program, you'll be able to get training on that. DEAC will be able to provide it. Festo doesn't care if you have Festo equipment or Siemens or Rockwell or Fanuc, doesn't matter. This is fundamental training for automation, robotics, and mechatronics, and the second year is advanced. And when the industry is involved, each industry partner will have different types of equipment that those students will be learning on the job. So it's a combination of in classroom and on the job. Does that answer it for you, Carlos? Okay. So this was an interesting little bit of labor market intel from EMSI that I thought I'd share, because we had to prove that we had the demand in order to put this program together. And I think you'll find this interesting, that in 2020, the jobs in these three areas, mechanical engineering and electrical and electronic engineering, and electrical, mechanical, and mechatronics, just those three, the jobs in Orange County alone were higher than the national average. You can see 2,863, and their average compensation was $67,000. That's all three of these were higher than the national average, which is excellent. It's unfortunate that our businesses are suffering, that they can't find the qualified workforce, but it's fortunate for us that we now have a program that will be able to address that. So the DEAG Festo partnership and the $650,000 grant, Festo designed Map Square for any industry, and they collaborated with, initially in Ohio, with 6 other industry partners, and then expanded into Florida with another 5 industry partners. And with all of that input, they put together this apprenticeship program. And it is approved at DOL, by the way. So the student will also get a Department of Labor certificate when they finish the program in mechatronics technician. So you might wonder why this grant wanted to help mechatronics in Orange County. Well, there was a joint declaration during the Obama administration. It had to do with the Marshall Plan back in the 1940s, where we helped Germany with millions of, I think it was about $50 million to help rebuild Germany after the war. Now they're trying to pay us back. So they have invested in the skills initiative for this, just for Orange County, $650,000 to ensure that we can get this mechatronics apprenticeship program going. They're helping with the administration, the professional development, the software, the curriculum, anything that our faculty and teachers need. They're going to help provide that. So what are some of the benefits of apprenticeship? Now, some of you may think apprenticeship, labor, organized labor. That is not what we're talking about here. So this is non-traditional apprenticeship. Okay, so let's get that straight right away. You can also call it learn and earn. So their students will earn a salary while gaining a degree and their industry credential. So the day they start as an apprenticeship or as an apprentice, their industry sponsor picks them up. They start getting paid that day while they finish their 5 semesters of their degree program. During this time, they're gaining occupational proficiency. So that employer is not only getting a student that is learning the book knowledge, but is learning the way they work, the technical skills they need on the equipment that they have. It also unlocks, a career pathway for them and career advancement after their associate's degrees, because they're going to have all of these industry certifications as well. And they choose, they can take those tests or not, but every module that the students go through has a NIMS certification attached to it. And if they want to take the test, they can. They pass it, they get that certification. Of course, we encourage them to do that. They'll be learning in a real work, state-of-the-art training environments. They They will be working 3 days a week at the employer and 2 days a week in college. And this is just a little overview of the curriculum. It's kind of an outline of the curriculum and the hands-on training that they will be involved in. You can see here it starts with just the fundamentals, and then it goes through fluid, pneumatics, hydraulics, electrical drives, PLCs. It's all in here. And we've actually brought this out to B. Braun and Parker Aerospace and Siemens and even Fanuc and Rockwell have looked at the curriculum, and they believe it's adequate. So we're very happy that we have the industry support that we do, and currently we have 50 industry partners involved in this in Orange County. So as I was saying, you've got the students in the classroom getting the general and technical education with our high skill labs. Every college already has equipment to do the automation fundamentals piece, and we have more equipment coming through this strong workforce grant that I was talking about, the $917,000 that'll provide anything that they need as we move forward with the second year's courses. All the tuition and lab fees are paid by the employer sponsor. And the companies, they assign a qualified mentor, and that's where that professional development comes in for them. If they need their mentors to get trained in how to communicate with students and how to teach, then they can provide that. There will be related training plans, so what the student is learning in the classroom will correlate with what they're doing on the job. That's very important, so that those skills that they're learning in the book transfer to the skills on the job. And the total training hours is about 2,000, and once they finish, they get their certificate from the DOL. So I've been talking about the Regional Training Center, and what we found out when we were developing this program is not every college has the same exact training program for the automation certificate. There are different pathways, a little bit different capstones, and there's some courses in the MAP Square, about 20%, that are not covered at every college. So those gaps need to be filled. And so the Regional Training Center was developed in order to equip with the best possible equipment that we can buy through this grant, and also to be able to hold our professional development trainings there and have our students and faculty at our colleges teach there in order to fill those gaps. So if we've got one faculty that's teaching one course that's not offered, or one lab that is not offered at another college, they can go to that place, to the Regional Training Center, and have those students come in and get that training that they need to move on to the next module in the apprenticeship program. As I was talking earlier, the articulated courses, that is the automation certificate. Those are articulated across our colleges. And we're also working with our ROPs and our adult schools, because we want pathways from their programs as well into the MAP Square program. And we're happy to do that. I've been working with Kenya on that, and thank you, Kenya. We're getting close to actually having something that we can start accepting students in as soon as we open the Regional Training Center and start those orientations. The B2B piece, that's where industry is helping other industry. And so that's another aspect of the Regional Training Center that Festo wants to utilize to help other businesses automate. And they will pay us they will pay the Regional Training Center to help it remain sustainable into the future while they're doing those trainings there for other companies. So what the vision we had for the Regional Training Center was for it to be centrally located. That was important so that students don't have to drive too far. You know, we didn't want it in the north or the south. We wanted it central. And we wanted to ensure that it was fully equipped. So we have applied for a Good Jobs Challenge grant to fully equip this lab, approximately $2 million worth of equipment. We're looking for a public and private collaboration, and we've been talking to our industry partners, and we have a lot of support to find a location, whether it's unused space in the Irvine or Tustin area, or it could be a partner site where the industry partner has space that they're not utilizing and can lease it to us. Or we're also looking at the ATEP, which is the Advanced Technology Education Park in Irvine, as a possible location. But ultimately, we want this to be a neutral location so that all the colleges can have an agreement with a party like DIAG USA, with it not college to college, where there might be questions on who does what and how and where, and lots of things could get a little dicey. So these are the pathways, and it's not limited to these pathways that we'll be starting at the Regional Training Center. These are what's offered at the 6 colleges right now, but it's not going to be limited to that. We're probably going to expand into IT because of Industry 4.0 and all that networking and cybersecurity and things like that that are required to run a manufacturing plant today. This is just an idea of what the labs will look like at the training center. And this is the structure. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but on the left-hand side there, you can see that the gold boxes, that's where we have our Workforce Investment Board and our incumbent workers from our industry partners coming into the program for upskilling. And then we have our community college students and our high school students and ROP students coming in into the college counselor, enrolling in the program, and then going to the orientation. And then there's 2 pathways for students. There's the non-credit and not-for-credit pathway to get short-term skills training and go directly into industry. And then there's also the credit pathway, which is the green. And our 6 colleges listed there with their programs. And then additionally, I'm excited to say that Bakersfield College has agreed to work with us to articulate our degree, our mechatronics degree, to their industrial automation bachelor's degree that is online. So students will be able to get a 4-year degree once they finish this online using the training center here in Orange County to do the lab work, and all the other lecture and everything else is online. So really exciting development there. And then of course we've got UCI and CSU engineering pathways, because we expect a percentage of our students will want to continue on into an engineering degree. And then I'm really pleased to say that Orange Coast College stepped up when we needed it to provide space that was very, very limited in the county at all of our colleges. We had very limited space, but we needed a space to hold our orientations, to have our equipment. Pardon me? Okay. But they provided the space as an interim regional training center, so we're going to be utilizing that until we find our permanent spot. And I just want to give a shout out to Orange Coast. Thank you very much. That was gracious. So here's the team leadership. You've got Bruce Noble. He's my counterpart in LA. Israel Dominguez. He's at Saddleback. Terry Schmidt, you met him. And Greg Anders, a consultant for the Chancellor's Office that has helped us bring in industry partners. And then Miriam Farnbauer from DIAG and Stefan Dietl from Festo Didactic. And Ann Younglove, who's recently joined us, and I'm very thankful. She's been helping us with getting that articulation, dual enrollment, summer bridge program put together for our school districts. And that's it. That's my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. John Caffrey. And again, educators, if you have any questions, definitely message Mr. John in the chat or add your question in the chat. And Mr. John, just a reminder, I know I added the DIAG USA link. If you can add them both, though, you said Festo and I did not get the last word, so it's didactic. Okay, and thank you so much. And so now I'm going to introduce our next guest speaker, Mr. Dale Marston of Tomorrow's Talent.
Hey, thank you, Ari, and thank you very much for the invitation. Good to see some familiar faces. Adrian Hightower, it's been good to see you on several Water Energy Education Association presentations and other places, and glad to be here with all of you. Actually, Orange County, even though I live in San Bernardino and have been here now for quite a while, and I'll introduce myself in just a moment. I have fond memories of Orange County. It's actually where I grew up as a kid. I remember Doug and Carlos riding my bike to Cypress Community College with my bow and arrow on my back to practice archery, you know, something you probably didn't do today. And then my first start in public education actually was with the Orange County Department of Education, helping to teach the outdoor science education efforts in Forest Falls. So that was my first drive in public ed. And then it was actually in high school on a ride along with a police officer after an altercation. He said, "Hey, you need to go in the service, get your head screwed on straight." So thankfully followed his advice, went in the service. When I got out, I went into public education. And most recently, just left one of the state's 10 largest school districts, serving 50,000 students. 92% of students are traditionally marginalized. 90% of students coming from poverty in one of America's most dangerous cities. And as I left with my team, we had, during the tenure with my team, over my 8 years there, our graduation rate lifted from 66.8% to 93.6%. Passing the state, national, and county and national averages, doubling the number of kids eligible for college, and probably most importantly, and which will resonate with this group, we grew from 5 to 53 pathways. And I sat on and still continue to sit on the local workforce board. And we use predictive analytics from the workforce, not just regionally and locally, but also globally. What were the skills students needed in the real world of work for high growing, high demand, high wage jobs? And that's how we wove together our pathways with Learning Alliance and others. And then these county, the workforce board made an investment and said, look, we'll have the county as an employer open up opportunities for students in paid internships in a project we call Generation Go. So imagine hundreds of students from a variety of pathways, everything from healthcare to heavy diesel mechanics pathways, getting tapped into paid internships, 120 hours of internship in a county job-alike experience. And it was during that experience and our growth and folks studying and writing about what we were doing, it led me to think about, what do I want to do as I transition from the superintendency? What do I want to do the next 8 years of my life? And I founded a company called Tomorrow's Talent, where we do exactly the work I described. We bridge young adults to work-based learning experiences. So we are that bridge building company. We put a footing in the education industries, K-12, community college, 4-year, and then we put a footing in the business and industry sector to create that bridge that really builds these authentic experiences for students in industry. And been very excited about this work, excited as it's taken off in water and energy, as it's taken off in cybersecurity, as we're co-leading the governor's launch of the Inland Empire Cybersecurity Apprenticeship Initiative, and in other fields with healthcare, fire, EMT, other pain points for our local community. And we're currently working in a zone from anywhere from Hemet to Modesto, California, and beyond. And we're just getting ready to take on some work in Las Vegas. So very exciting time, and our efforts have really, we've had dozens of students, even in the middle of COVID, engaged in paid work-based learning experiences at the high school level. Matter of fact, we were the only paid high school work-based learning experiences in 2021 for San Bernardino City Unified School District, where we started our efforts. And so it's exciting to be with this group. Thank you so much for having me. Also have fond memories of working with your former chancellor, Cheryl Marshall, when she was at Crafton Hills Community College. Great friend, great people. So my heart is with all of you. So as I was going about the work of developing Tomorrow's Talent, by the way, I have a couple of my team members with us. Zach Hill is here, as well as Jennifer McDaniel. They're from my team, incredible people. Jennifer McDaniel stood up one of the state's most successful cybersecurity apprenticeship programs from the ground up at the community college. Has been a very incredible resource to us. And Zach former teacher, just manages incredibly our student and employer relationships. Very excited to have them on the team. But as I was going about this work and trying to build this effort to engage students, engage employers, as I was a few months into it, coming from 27 years of public sector experience, not counting my experience in the military, and then trying to start a private enterprise from the ground up, I said, what am I doing? And then I came across a 2020 report from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on the future of talent finance. And they said something that forever solidified this work in my heart and mind. And that is that public education can't do this anymore. The future of talent finance is three entities working closely together. Your education as an entity, your employers as an entity, and then intermediaries, which is what Tomorrow's Talent is, that bridge building company to navigate this work. I was just talking to a good friend of mine a few moments before this call, who is a community college, long-term community college instructor in the information technology space. And he's trying to build some pathways, and he talked about how difficult it is to connect his students authentically to the workforce while being a full-time teacher. And I said, yeah, it's impossible. And, that's what this report talks about. The 2020 U.S. Chamber of Commerce report says that the future of talent finance is really these three distinct entities working collectively together. And here we are at a time in our nation when our youth workforce participation rate is the lowest it's been, get this, since 1948. Houston, we have a problem. We have, 10.9 million job openings in the US, and we have 6 million youth that are neither working nor in school. So we have this mismatch where employers, they're really just now warming up to the idea of youth as a vital mechanism for their workforce needs. And so we know that we have a lot of work to tackle. There's a great divide to tackle. Gallup shared data with us a while back that there's a huge divide. When they surveyed the chief academic officers of all these institutions I mentioned a moment ago, 96% of chief academic officers said they're doing a great job of preparing students for the real world of work. Then when they Gallup surveys the business and industry world, that came back at only 11%. So Houston, there's a big divide, and we've got to bridge that. We've got to bridge that together. Educators can't do it alone. Employers can't do it alone. And here's something to hold on to as well. Even when students meet the holy grail of getting their bachelor's degree, being successful in our education system, today, 53% of our college four-year graduates are under and unemployed. And they have a mountain of about $37,000 in average college debt. Thankfully, there's some legislation and actions to reduce some of that, but still most of them maintain some pretty high ratios of college and student debt. And then within just the county of San Bernardino, where I live, and I have to look at the data for Orange County, but San Bernardino, there's currently today 200,000 youth that are neither working nor in school, 100,000 of them actively seeking employment. All the while, all these signs are up asking for help. And so what do? What we do in Tomorrow's Talent is we work with the employer to say, hey, look, there are still going to be 60% of kids on a track that are going college to career, but 40% of kids are going to be on a track career to college. That is, they start with a career. They start maybe in an entry-level position that has a progressive wage scale. Because what we're finding is more and more employers are warming up now to the idea of youth with this talent to pipeline. When Google went to Switzerland, where this is second nature, kids start, matter of fact, in 9th grade, they start in industry. When Google went to Switzerland, they had to rewire their entire industry system to bring youth into it and to pay youth for these apprenticeship experiences and teaching them expert knowledge in the industry. And so that's the work that we're about, is we work with the employers to help them build that authentic pipeline. We translate the business, the language of business and industry and education, and we help these pathways to become a reality. And as I mentioned, We have dozens of students engaged in each space where we work in work-based learning experiences, and more importantly, getting these students paid. And the ways that we enter in with an employer. So imagine if you're an employer, you've never worked with youth. What we do is we have a conversation with them that says, look, why don't we think about a work-based learning or service experience where students come in on a micro internship experience. Look, we'll just bring you a handful of 5 students who will spend 4 hours up to a day with you as an employer. You just share with them what you do. But secretly, what we tell the students is this is your chance to shine. We want you to share, come in as if it's an interview. You share your very best efforts with them. You let them know what you're capable of, so they want to invite you back for an internship. Then we work with the employer once we've hooked them to engage students in paid internship experiences that lead toward permanence. So we have students in the water industry right now. They're in high school. We have a couple kids right now just waiting to turn 18 so they can start their paid job with the water industry once they leave high school. They've got all the certifications from community college. They're ready to roll as water operators. We have other student right now who's an apprentice in cybersecurity. He's teed up to take on, university work and then work into full-time permanency and employment. And so that's the work that we're about. And you as educators, you're doing incredible work. The fact that you're here on a Friday at this time is a testament to the type of people that you are, that you authentically care about students and getting them engaged. And I want you to know you can't do it alone. So we want to help if we can. We'd love to chat with you more about that. Our contact information is there. But with that, I'm going to have Zach put a link to our flyer that talks a little more about what we do. And of course, you can visit our website. But we'd love to work with you as partners to help bridge this divide of getting students authentic work-based learning experiences everywhere along that continuum of a micro experience or service experience to an internship all the way to a registered competency-based apprenticeship program. So with that, I'm going to stop, and I'd like you to please turn off your mute and show your face and ask questions if you have it. Let's make it a little more interactive for a few minutes. I think I've got just a couple minutes left. And we'll answer any questions you might have, or if you want to put any of those questions in the chat, I'll answer them even during the break. Unfortunately, I do have to jump off after the break. Please, any questions you have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dale. Any educators, if you have any questions for the Tomorrow's Talent team, I found them not only in partnership with WIA, and I'm sure Dale can touch more on that, but just kind of doing research on my own, and I saw that they truly work with students in the after fact of after they've graduated, and if those students are looking for the entry-level careers to definitely get that start foot in the door, he is your guy. His team is here for you.
Thank you, Ari. Yeah, and again, if you don't have a question right now, feel free to put it in the chat or reach out to us. Happy to talk with you. Thanks again for letting me be here.
All right, well, no worries. I know that they're probably still teaching, that's okay. But yes, thank you so much, Dale, Zachary, and I think the other young lady was Miss Jennifer. Thank you all so much. Feel free to stay on if you can. If not, we definitely appreciate it. Dale, I did let Zach know you all will also receive a recording. There we go. All right, educators, welcome back from break. We are starting our industry panel. We do have an amazing, diverse group with us. They're going to share different backgrounds in relation to energy, construction, utilities, and how to prepare your students for the changes, the updates, and any new information that's definitely beneficial to them. I'll now turn it over to Mr. John Caffrey. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ari. Well, hello, industry panelists, and welcome. I want to thank you for your time and your commitment to attend this advisory. We appreciate it, and we couldn't do what we do without you. So the first question is, what's your name, your title, your company, and a brief summary about the company? And maybe we'll just start with you, Dr. Hightower.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you for the invitation, and good to see everybody. If you have any questions that I don't answer, just ask my colleague, former colleague, Jeffrey Dennis. he can also correct me when I get something wrong. But my name is Dr. Adrian Hightower. I am the manager for workforce development here at Metropolitan Water District. This should see a map of the water district. We're the largest provider of water in the nation that nobody's ever heard of. That's usually because we don't make too big of mistakes, but we span 6 counties, Los Angeles, Orange County in particular here, but also Ventura, San Diego, Riverside, and San Bernardino. One more thing that is probably of interest is that this is what our workforce looks like. And today I want to tell you, mostly I'll be talking about skilled craft work, which is about 25%, but I also want you to appreciate that 36% of our workforce are professionals. And so there's a lot of different ways into our industry. And again, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. How about Tammy? Do we have Tammy on?
Miss Tammy?
Yeah,
can you
I'm
hear?
here. Sorry,
Oh,
I
great.
was
No
on
problem.
mute. Hi, everybody. My name is Tammy Tran at Southern California Edison. I'm currently a senior manager for our local public affairs organization. So in my family, my husband is the engineer, not me. And so what I would like to share with you and all is that at Southern California Edison, we are a utility and energy company, but there's so many different jobs across the company. My background is in political science and international relations, and here I am at Edison celebrating my 9 years at the company. And so there's a lot of different ways to, entry points for young people to join Edison. We have a very robust internship program. For high school students, we have a STEM scholarship that is $40,000 for the 4-year colleges. And I think for graduates, we have internship programs. We have a lot of entry-level positions. We also have, jobs that are very diverse, right? There's jobs that are very operational in our engineering and operations, transmission and distribution. But there's also jobs that support the business, from finance to project management. And I think anybody who has an interest in energy issues, clean energy, and climate issues or the environment would excel and really find purpose and mission at the company, just as I do. So really happy to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Tammy. How about Brett?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brett Drajarski, and I'm a Senior Manager of Environmental Health and Safety in SunPower Corporation's Commercial Division. SunPower's been in business for 37 years, maybe since the mid-1980s, manufacturing solar panels, and then within the past 15 years or so, branching out into commercial construction and residential installations of photovoltaic systems. We, like most big renewable companies, we have, positions, entry-level positions that accommodate all range of, skill set and applicability. I started my career in solar about 15 years ago as a residential installer and have kind of worked my way up through the construction side of things. And now I'm on the safety side of it. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Scott. I'm a outreach specialist for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. We are a labor organization that represents about 60,000 members in 6 Southwest states. So we cover Southern California, which is from basically Bakersfield down to the San Diego border. But we also cover Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico as well. Membership all over the place. We also have about 11 to 12 major crafts that we cover. Everything from a general carpenter to an interior systems carpenter that covers metal stud, drywall framing, acoustical ceilings, insulation. We do a lot of work with our pile drivers that are doing work at the dams, the harbors, the docks, the wharves, things like that. Also our millwrights, which is kind of on the borderline of mechatronics, but more of a industrial mechanic. They work on heavy machinery, installing some of those turbines and things of that nature. I myself am a general carpenter. Started when I was 18 years old. Been working in the field for about 10 years now. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And Israel.
Israel's not with us just yet. No worries.
Is he not with us?
Not yet, but we'll keep moving forward.
Okay. Well, then why don't we just keep rotating in that order? And I'll start with the first question. It's a two-part question. Does your company offer internships, apprenticeships, job shadowing, or volunteer opportunities for students to gain experience? If yes, what is the age requirement? We'll start with you, Dr. Hightower.
Great. The short answer is yes. We offer kind of a variety of programs, and let's see if I can make this a little more dynamic. I think, John, earlier you mentioned kind of the distinction between really formal apprentice programs and kind of what is being talked about these days in terms of earn as you learn programs. We offer both. We have a very traditional state certified apprenticeship program. That is this WSO apprentice program that starts with a 6-month but turns into a 4-year program, and that has 18 and up in terms of the age requirement. Doesn't require a college degree. We also have our desert internship program, which is slightly different. It is for our facilities in the desert, so it's out of town, but that's about 1,200 hours of on-the-job training. That's pretty useful. In addition to that, we have our LA Hire program, and that is targeting high schools, mostly in the Los Angeles area. That's because the LA Chamber of Commerce pays for that. So if there's opportunities to do something similar in Orange County, let's talk. But lastly, I'll say we have our internship program, and that is open to pretty much all ages as well. It can include high school. So we've had 16-year-olds before. It's a little tricky, but those are all possible.
Thank you, Dr. Hightower. How about Tammy?
Tammy, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you for unmuting me. We have programs for the whole range of young people. Part of our philanthropy contributions that we invest in the community every year, $20 million. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is a big part of our funding. We provide funding to local schools and nonprofit programs. And so that targets like our K-12 population. And then we have our scholarship program, the Edison Scholarships Program, that usually is targeted towards seniors, current seniors, and they usually apply in August through December, and then we announce them sometime in the spring. And so that information is always available on edison.com. In terms of careers, whether it's linemen or groundsmen, the technical opportunities, we do have those pathways, and those the specific information can be found on edisoncareers.com. And there's a specific initiative right now within Edison to really make an emphasis on hiring diverse employees, particularly line workers, planners, and there's not enough diversity. And I feel like, especially in a lot of our disadvantaged communities or our ethnic communities, there's not a lot of awareness about these types of jobs. And so we're making a specific effort to make sure that we reach out into diverse communities. In fact, we have a line worker scholarship program that we're putting in place. We launched it last year. That would help provide funding for room, board, and materials. It's a partnership with an organization called the Brotherhood Crusade out of LA. We're going to be expanding it to Orange County. And some more information about those types of opportunities, as well as just jobs that are available at Edison, can be found at edisoncareers.com.
Thank you, Tammy. That was excellent. This is great information we're getting. I hope you're writing it down, everybody. Brett.
Yeah, SunPower has an internship program, and many of the interns that I've encountered in my career at SunPower have been college age. We also work with many of the school districts in which we install photovoltaic systems at, and have solar academies that draw younger high school age students into interest into solar careers, etc. Myself, having kind of come up through the construction side of things, I would like to, see and kind of champion more through my organization of getting more folks into the construction side of things, more skilled craft and trade. Many of the internships that I've, or interns I've come across in my career have been more office-based positions. So something, an area of opportunity of growth for us, I think. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Brett. How about Jeffrey?
Yeah, so we offer at the Southwest Carpenters Training Fund a registered apprenticeship in some of those crafts that I talked about. So acoustical and millwright are two of our 5-year apprenticeship programs that are registered with the state. But the rest of our programs, the general carpenter, the interior systems, pile driving, some of the floor covering apprenticeships are all 4-year apprenticeships. What I would do specifically is work with pre-apprenticeship programs. So what we do is we create partnerships with local high schools, community colleges. John's been a huge, one of the master networkers that are out there that have really connected us to create a talent pipeline from those K-12 or K-14 programs into our registered apprenticeship. And that's really where we're able to work with all of our contractors and place some of those individuals. For us to be placed into our registered apprenticeship, you have to be 17 and a half with parent or guardian permission. Most contractors are really hesitant to take any individual that's under the age of 18 years old. So that's something to kind of work around. But there is that opportunity. We don't require a high school diploma. It is always encouraged. But we're one of the few building trades that doesn't require that as part of being our registered apprenticeship. So
Great, and that Career Connections is an excellent way to enter your program. Gives those students a leg up, right?
absolutely.
Thank you. Is Israel with us yet?
No, sorry.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. This is also a 2-part question. What top 3 soft skills should entry-level employees build before hired, and why are these important? Dr. Hightower.
I think we're going to say a lot of the same things over and over again, I think, amongst us. And so I'm going to try to find some outliers that you might not hear. Strong work ethic is one I think we'll all repeat over and over again. Flexible and adaptable is something you will not hear, but is being increasingly necessary. And that is an attitude that is coming. And that's because the nature of our work is changing, not only because of climate change, but changing regulatory landscapes, aging infrastructure that has to be adapted to. We have a lot of changes going on that you need to roll with and need to be excited about in some regards. So that's a unique soft skill, I think, that is many times overlooked. And lastly, kind of a soft skill that's half soft, half technical is problem solving, because we're going to have lots of issues, and we need folks that not only just get told what to do, but are leaders and can solve problems and identify them. So probably problem solving, being flexible and adaptable, and a strong work ethic are my top 3.
I think that's excellent. I love that evolving with the company aspect. I've never thought of that. It's a great one to pass on to our students, that they need to be flexible and adaptable. Thank you, Adrian. Tammy.
So at Southern California Edison, we have what we call Edison values, and our top value is around safety. I know that's not something we think about in terms of soft skills, but I think the habit of making sure that safety is first is a very important skill for Southern California Edison, because we deal with electricity, and we want to make sure every day people come to work and be able to go home safely to their family. And so safety is a top priority. In fact, it's something that we evaluate and include in our performance review. And I bring that up because I think that for a lot of industry, that's not something that comes to mind. Thank you, Dr. Hightower. You kind of got me thinking about something that's different. And I think the commitment to safety, how we behave, how we make safety a top priority, it's something that's very important at Southern California Edison. Every meeting starts with a safety moment. And so it's part of kind of living those values and making sure that safety is a top priority for how we do the work, how we make sure we ensure safety for our customer, how we ensure safety on the job so that we're not getting hurt, that we, are very conscious about those things. Other skills I would say is the importance is teamwork. I know that's something that you often hear about, but teamwork is so important that if we understand that, the success at work is not just, incumbent upon us, it's part of the team, right? And I think that's a skill that not necessarily everybody masters. Everybody can come and do a good job, but having that viewpoint that you're part of a team, you're part of a bigger group, I think that's an important skill to have. And how do you go about building team? Whether or not you're a manager or individual contributor, kind of thinking about like how you're part of the team and how being part of the team helps you deliver and do well and succeed at work. And the final thing I would say is commitment to excellence. And that really drives towards like continuous improvement, which is something that's another value at Edison, is that we're never satisfied with just what you have today, that you're always continuously trying to be better and work harder and look for ways to improve your skills, the curiosity to learn more. Those are skills I believe that will be really important to any employee in the workforce, whether it's at Edison or somewhere.
I think those are such great points.
I have a question, John.
Did I just?
This is both for Tammy and Adrian. How does the competence differ from those who have gone through the community colleges in LA, Orange County, San Bernardino, and Riverside, students that you would currently employ compared to those who have not?
I'll take a stab at this. I think, I don't think I can answer that question. I think I can answer a question of the ones that have gone through water-based programs, and some of them are in community colleges, for example, Santiago, or LA Trade Tech, for example. And those students have two things that maybe other students miss, and that is kind of a broad awareness of our utility industry and water in general, and even a network. A lot of them come in knowing folks. And so I think those are two very useful. I don't think I have enough data really to analyze, skills amongst different community college students, but I can say the ones that have gone through these water specific programs have kind of a better general base knowledge and a network.
Thank you for answering that, Dr. Hightower. Tammy, thank you. Those were great points, especially that teamwork. In today's youth, there's so much competitiveness with gaming and all of this kind of thing. They come into work maybe thinking that they're competing against each other, and that's not the attitude you want at all. You want them helping each other to be successful, and that's a great point. Thank you very much. How about you, Brett?
Thank you, Adrian, for that answer, because as educators, we always want to teach the soft skills, but unless we get direct feedback from people who are actually hiring students from the community college, then we can have an accurate assessment of what we need to do. But if we have students that you employ that haven't gone through the community college, then it's feedback from some other training that we're not privy to. And that's why I'm more targeted specific towards community college. As this advisory committee, we're looking for feedback to help the students come into your employment more ready. But if you don't have those community college students, we can't get accurate feedback.
Carlos, I hear your point, and I think I'm going to ask around. Hopefully next time we get together, I'll have a better answer for you.
Hey, Brett, same question.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Tammy, it was great to hear, what Edison's core values are. Safety, putting safety first is one of SunPower's core values. And, the continuous improvement, we innovate relentlessly at SunPower. And one of our other values is doing the right thing. And that's something I really value in the workplace as, a soft skill, operating with a very high level of integrity. Some of the other things, that I'm, really kind of keyed in on these days, especially our communication skills. Can people write a professional email? Can they have a conversation on the telephone with a customer or a subcontractor, things of that nature? And, kind of lastly, in today's, day and age where we are, a flexibility and adaptability, work isn't necessarily the same as what it was a couple of years ago, a couple short years ago. So, being flexible and adaptable in the workplace now is a real, key skill, I think. So thanks.
Thank you, Brett. Yeah, safety, safety, safety. As a former electrician, I can understand that completely and fully agree. How about you, Jeff?
So I'll probably kind of go off on a completely different way. It's somewhat of a technical skill, but it's really a soft skill is mobility for us. Being able to have a student that is prepared to do some of the traveling that we do. I know it's not something that is really talked about a lot, but being able to have a license and access to a vehicle, that's something that it could go either way. But really for us, we do so much traveling. I mean, we could be from LA to the low desert, all the way down to San Diego for just Southern California. So being highly mobile is huge. Coming in with prepared with your license and at least able to get to a vehicle relatively quick is very important for us. A lot of opportunities are lost out because students wait till the very last second, or even some of our community college students that we get aren't exactly there, where if an opportunity approaches them, they're able to seize it because they don't have a license, they don't have a vehicle. So whenever I talk to students, especially as early as I can get to them 9th, 10th grade, that's a net point of emphasis, is whether you have it through your school, you have to do it on your own time. I know it's definitely harder for some of those socioeconomically disadvantaged students where they don't have family access to it. I'm tell them like, hey, you need extra time to be prepared on that. The second one is consistency. Being consistent for us is very huge. We don't want to ride the wave of the highs and lows that, a young adult can go through. If you can just show up, be consistent, you don't have to be a master technician. You don't have to be the best at your job, especially at an entry-level position, but I need you there every day, consistently, ready to go to work. With some of these things that I'm going to show, hopefully I can share my screen real quick. And these are kind of our core values that we emphasize at the apprenticeship. Let me see if I can share it. Being on time, work ethic, effort, body language, energy, all these things that are soft skills. These kind of drive that consistency factor. This is what it takes to be a professional carpenter. A lot of people, see construction as maybe a second option. And for some, maybe it is, but I think especially with the dynamic of opportunities, I think Dale Marsden said it correctly, that a lot of the four-year graduates are underemployed in that capability. Having somebody an opportunity to come into an apprenticeship, an earn while you learn program, and make $100K a year after 4 years is a pretty amazing opportunity that we want to make sure that students that come in are very prepared and at least have that consistency and that attitude of being coachable and being prepared. So that's some of our soft skills that we like to see, that would really be really helpful if we could get them at a young age to understand.
I love that, especially that doing extra. That really speaks to me, because that really looks back at the passion, the attitude, the effort, all of those other, that doing extra part really involves all of those being on point. Okay, so let's see. Question number 5. What certifications are needed to be successful in this career field? Dr. Hightower.
Unmute myself. Great. I think if we look at the water industry, just to summarize it, and we talk about water treatment, there's wastewater as well, but probably the best place to go is AWWA, the American Water Works Association. And I'll put the link in the chat, but they have any certification you get from them will get people's attention. And there are 3 really that don't require on-the-job training for initial certifications. What we call our D1 or our T1s are distribution operators or treatment operators, and finally water use efficiency practitioners. Students, even high school students, can get these certifications with a bit of training. And on our website, we have curriculum for teachers. They could be science teachers, or they could be credentialed career technical education teachers that can teach the courses sufficient to get a high school student after 1 semester prepared to take the drinking water distribution operator or the drinking water treatment operator. I'll put this link in the chat, but any certification from AWWA will help.
Great information. Thank you. Tammy.
So I'll focus on one job that I think, like we said, we have, we have major recruiting efforts for our groundsmen or groundwomen. There's a pathway because this is an entry-level position, and their main function is to assist with the building maintenance and repairing of our electrical system. And so what we look for in terms of medical requirement is someone that has gone through a certificate program from a SE accredited training program, having some construction related activities for this particular job. And the other base, and I think the other thing, there's a lot of opportunities, and I put the link into the chat box. In really getting students to participate when they're young, that line worker scholarship program, that is definitely something I think that there's a direct pathway for those that are interested in becoming line worker and line workers. I'm not I'm not on the operations transmission distribution side. I'm more on the business side. And so there's a lot of opportunities there. I think the other thing I would say in terms of certifications, there a number of them, but another pathway I think would be good for young people to think about is also our planning department. They'll hire planners and they'll go through an internal training program. And the other thing I would just say that for most jobs, I mean, obviously any person new on a job will go through major training programs. I mentioned earlier that safety is a top priority. That's a major part of the training. I think one of the questions that we were talked about besides the soft skills was also technical skills. And I think, there's some basic technical skills that, people should have. They should have the ability to write, basically. And I think that's really important, that I think sometimes people overlook basic writing in terms of communications through email. I think even people in the field communicating on an iPad, documenting information, I think that's a technical skill, being able how to document numbers and details and facts correctly. That's a major pain point for the company when we have people that do not enter data correctly. And that could be something that could result in a poor performance review. And so I bring that up because I think that's so important to really emphasize with your students, is be able to capture data and be able to report back data accurately and factually. That's so important. And you won't get that through a certification project. So that's part technical. It's also part soft skill and attention to detail. But certifications, I would really encourage students and educators to look at our edisoncareers.com for where we detail out like the different certifications or needs for each position.
Perfect. Thank you. Brett.
Yep.
Right, yeah, in our commercial group, construction manager and safety manager, entry-level positions, generally we look for OSHA level certification, OSHA 30 for construction managers, OSHA 500 and 510 level certifications for our safety managers. Additionally, there are a bevy of certifications, including first aid and CPR and bloodborne pathogens that all would, kind of look really favorably for an entry-level candidate to have, on their resume to get in. I couldn't agree with Tammy more. There may not be, this certification for iPad usage, but, the technical skills, Microsoft Office suite, familiarity with, Word and PowerPoint and Excel, all really valuable basic skills that, they may not have a specific certification for, but are certainly valuable to bring to the table. So thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Scott or Jeffrey.
So for us, we do a lot of our certifications in-house, but for an entry level, student, somebody that's looking to break into the apprenticeship program, OSHA 10 and First Aid CPR would be the two that I recommend. We also, with our various partners and through our Career Connections pre-apprenticeship program, offer our certificate, different varying levels of degree of difficulty. So those, certificates really matter. Anything that can give one of our contractors or one of our employer partners a real good sense of what kind of training that student has come with is very important. The more brand recognition that they have with that certificate, the better. So when we're sending students out to the job with a Career Connection certification that has the Carpenters Union insignia on it, they know that they've gotten some really good formal training. But there's other various entities out there for certificates. Just something like that is really important, that's got some big brand recognition behind it, just so that when they hand that piece of paper over to a foreman or a superintendent, it'll click, it'll trigger something that, okay, this is something that's legitimate, really recognized. But definitely the fundamentals of OSHA 10 and First Aid CPR, even though we do those in-house as part of our orientation, they're very, very easy to acquire and something that looks great on a small resume or note card when you're going out to look for work. So those two for sure.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeffrey. So this next question, probably one of the most important, I think.
I have a question, John. This Carlos.
Go ahead, Taylor.
So this question is for Adrian, Tammy, John, I think the carpenter rep. What percentage of your new entry employees come from a community college, and how can we help to get them into your field? So just, I know you probably don't have the exact number, but what percentage of your entry level employees come from a community college within the LA, Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside area?
I can tackle that because we actually track our apprentices now as far as where they get their education from. So right now it's not very high. I only know of a few trades training programs that have a carpenter specific. I know Orange Coast College does and LA Trade Tech, but outside of that, there's not very many. So it's a very low percentage of what our intake is. We have about 9,000 apprentices throughout the Southern California, and that we're just Southern California, not including Northern California. And I would say maybe a few hundred, and it's really just about exposure. There's just not enough exposure for those students that are in those programs that hey, that this is a pathway, this is an opportunity, this is another organization. So it's not a very high percentage for us.
Thanks. Let's hold our questions until we've got about 12 minutes left here, and we've got 4 more questions. And I think this one's really important. What experience would your company look for on a resume for an entry-level employee? I think that's a question that every student wonders, because they've got all the schooling done, and now what experience do they need? Adrian.
Honestly, we look for any experience with a utility. And I know that's hard to do, but a lot of these specific water-based programs at the community colleges, at the trade schools, do allow some types of interactions. So anything that gets you familiar with a utility, because that's a fairly unique skill set. Probably the other thing is anything that demonstrates kind of hands-on technical skills, and this is for our skill craft. So you don't have to be versed in water operations and valves to understand how to learn that skill. And so anything that we can see hands-on, or anything that we can see involvement with the utility is a plus for us.
Great. Tammy. Tammy, you with us?
Sorry, there was a lag there.
No problem. No, can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I've been having bad connection.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm having bad connection. I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm sorry. What was the question? Oh, I can't hear.
What experience would your company look for on a resume for an entry-level employee?
Well, if it's entry level, I mean, it's you know, it's I think it depends on. I mean, obviously, it depends on the position, but I you know, I think the position, if it's entry level, you're applying for an entry level position. So there's not any particular experience. Education is helpful, but I think the other question was, you know, I think the percentage of community colleges that are higher, I don't have that number, but I will say that we do have a lot of employees across the company, not only on the operational side, but on the corporate side, that don't necessarily have a community college education. And so I wouldn't let that deter anybody, right? Because there are a lot of different types of roles. I would also say that Edison offers a very generous benefit for all employees to pursue higher education. We give, I think right now it's $5,500 for educational stipend per year. And so if you're a community college student, or if you're someone that doesn't have a college degree, but was able to get into our line worker program or planner program, you can go through that, you know, get the job, and also continue to pursue your education.
Excellent. Thank you. Now I'm going to skip over one question here because I think we've already answered it, and go to what is the greatest area of need or opportunity for growth in your industries? Adrian. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to Jeffrey, since or Brett. Brett would be next.
I want to hear from Brett, actually.
Yeah, Brett.
What was the greatest need or area?
So what is the greatest area of need or opportunity for growth in your industry?
In the solar industry right now, it feels like the residential market is the largest growing segment of the business. And that would accommodate, you know, kind of a large variety of workers, from hands-on installers to project managers to permit coordinators, interconnection coordinators, sales folks and development folks. So I think that the residential side of the solar business is poised for the largest growth. Not that commercial isn't necessarily, and I've worked in commercial for a really long time. It's just a different kind of business. And I think here in California, there may be some regulatory, you know, things that are going on, but the, you know, the industry and the utilities and the state and everyone, you know, that it'll be beneficial for everybody in the long run, because, you know, I think I see Tammy shaking her head. I think it's you know, renewable projects, renewable energy, solar on people's rooftops is the right thing, you know, to do. It's a good thing for all of us to do. So that's my bet in solar. It's the largest is residential.
So how about battery storage?
Battery storage as well. With that, on the commercial side, we're really seeing a lot of growth on projects that I work on. More and more of them have a storage component, a battery component. You know, I don't know as much about our residential installations. I know same thing. They install them, and you know, that part of the system in people's homes. And there's also a lot of growth there. So I think people are really excited about solar, in particular here, you know, in California. So I think it's good. I would just like to say, you know, in response also to Carlos's questions really quick, I went to a community college. I'm not sure the exact percentage of folks that work for SunPower or entry-level folks that came into SunPower, but I'm a big proponent of community colleges. Not here, I didn't go here locally, but certainly I have a community college education. So thanks.
Great.
John, if I can add on.
Yeah,
because on the subject of renewables, so I do believe, I agree with Brett wholeheartedly that the future is clean. There's a lot of jobs in clean energy. And I would say that at Edison, we're an investor-owned utility. So we drive some of the policies that are coming down in California really drive the job market. And I think the two areas where I feel like the jobs are going to really flourish, at least from where I sit, is around electric vehicles, EV installing electric EV charging stations. I mean, we've seen policy where we have to push for more EVs on the road, and so there's a lot of jobs that are gonna come out of that. Edison is also making a big push for building electrification. And so we're pushing for, electrification of heat, HVAC systems. And so there'll be jobs that come out of that as well. And so you'll see more as Edison takes on more push for electrification, that'll drive more jobs. And I agree with Brett, like not only the solar industry, but energy, battery storage. We do a lot of contract work. And so that's another thing I wanted to make sure that I bring up. Like, we're not just hiring ourselves, but we're also hiring contractors. And by extension, those contractors hire people too. And so I think it's important too, as educators, as you encourage your students not to look at just the big the big companies, but also there's so many contractors, and I think maybe even more than some departments that we have. We're in engineering or in construction, things like that. We work with a lot of contractors, and a lot of them are local. So
perfect, Tammy. So Jeffrey, I'll ask this final question of you, and then everyone else can chime in. We've got about 4 minutes left. What final advice do you have for high school and college educators who are preparing students for real-world careers in your industry?
Replicate work-based learning as much as possible in the classroom. I think that for us, it's really hard to get these work-based learning experiences. It's very hard for me to get a student that's under 17 years old onto a job site. So if you can take some externships, we actually offer externships for high school instructors, our partners, to come do some training with us so they can take those things back to their classrooms. That is the biggest key, is to simulate a work environment as much as possible. I've been a big proponent of trying to do some on-campus field trips of maybe like 8-hour work days, where if you have a capstone project of building a shed or a structure, whatever it may be, get those students to build that structure for 8 hours a day. Because one 50-minute class period a day, a student may think this is something I'm really interested in, but do it for 8 hours and then replicate it 5 days a week, for an entire year. It's something different. It really opens your eyes to, do I really want to do this or not? Which is our biggest problem is retention. We have a lot of people coming in, working for 6 months, they get attracted to the money or whatever the case may be, and then they fall out just because they didn't know what the expectations really were, what the job really entailed. So anything that you can do to replicate a working environment, if you have a trades class, as closely as possible, would be huge. We just don't want any surprises for the students when they get to the job site of swinging a hammer or being out in the sun or doing a physical labor-intensive job for 8 hours a day. It does reward really well, but definitely want to make sure that they're physically and mentally prepared for it.
So Carpenter's Boot Camp.
Carpenter's Boot Camp. It's something that we've been exploring. We actually work with the Construction Industry Education Foundation. I believe that BIA used to hold that competition down in Orange County. And then they gave it up to the Construction Industry Education Foundation starting last year. It's something we're supporting hopefully now and moving forward. But just to replicate building and structure and working for 8 hours a day is something we get behind as much as possible.
Thank you, Jeff. Dr. Hightower, any final advice?
Yeah, I think I'll share one more slide. I'm really grateful to Jeffrey for pointing that out and for bringing up the slide that he had on being coachable for a soft skill, because very similar to that in terms of technical skills, we need people that are self-learners, and self-learners usually are pretty coachable. With regard to some of the opportunities coming forward, in the water industry, we have something called the silver tsunami, which I'm sure you've heard of. I think it was 2 years ago, over 50% of our workforce could retire tomorrow if they wanted. That has changed, is now down to like 57%. It's still pretty sizable. But when we look at jobs, we look at mission critical jobs in terms of operations and collection, distribution, transmission. On the electrical side, water and wastewater treatment, certainly engineers and environmental. But if we look forward to go beyond kind of the traditional roles, which are going to be affected by the silver tsunami, we're also going to need a lot more water conservation specialists and water resource specialists, because we are in the midst of climate change and it doesn't bode well for more water. It's going to be a lot of smart water systems that can be adapted to extremes. And finally, cybersecurity. Any critical infrastructure is thinking about that. So hope that helps.
Yes, excellent. Any final thoughts, Tammy?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, Brett?
Yeah, I think I'd, ask or, give advice as the educators to, advise their students to, not get off their phones, but, I think there's a tendency for so many of us to be on our phones all the times, and the younger people, maybe a little more than, they're just more used to it. It's part of their lives, and not that it's bad, but there's also real life going on, and that has to be taken into account as well. Thanks.
John, I actually have one more. Just Brett kind of brought a thought to my mind, because young people are on the tablet or the device often. I think that you can channel that into, there's so many resources out there where students can learn. Edison has a very active newsletter, online newsletter. We have a Twitter account. So I think that, we know they're going to use their phones. And so helping them to direct their attention to the opportunities to learn more about the industry. I think that's important too. The technical, the soft skills, getting the job. But I think what helps young people, especially their focus on maybe getting into management positions, is to be aware of the industry, like read news, really digest that and include that in their, their daily activities, or where they're checking Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. It's probably not Facebook for them, it's Instagram, right? To also learn about news in the industry. So following that is going to be really important. That's like the next level step.
Oh, that's great. I want to thank all of our panelists for attending today, for giving us such great information. We certainly appreciate it. It's very valuable to all of our teachers and faculty and administrators. And I want to give a shout out to Ari and Nita for putting this together. Excellent job. Thank you very much. And I'll hand it back to you, Ari.
Yes, thank you, Mr. John Caffrey, and to the amazing industry professionals and sharing their expert advice. Educators, again, if you do have any questions, feel free to email me and I'll direct them to the industry professional of your choice. Thank you all for joining us today. I did share the evaluation in the chat if you have time today. If not, I will bug you Monday. No worries. Thank you all for joining us and have a fabulous weekend. Thank you.
You too.